Aloha and welcome to Knitted Paradise, where the needles are clicking and the yarn is squishing. My name is Lucia. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Pearl of the Pacific. And welcome back after a long hiatus, or it seems like a long hiatus. Today is Monday, July 7th, and I'm back from Europe, finally. It was a little adventure to get back, but we made it back safely and things are going well. I'm recovering from a cold, so that's why my voice is a little not all there, I guess you could say. It's a little scraggly if I talk way down here maybe, but in my normal talking range it's kind of gone. My husband had a cold right before we left and I tried really hard not to get it, and I didn't. And I was thinking, either I'm going to get it right when I get there or right when we get back. So I, of course, got it right when we got back. It's not as bad as his, so that's really good. Although it could get worse. Mainly it's just been a sore throat and kind of being exhausted, but I think the kind of being exhausted part was from the trip. So what are you going to do about that? Ooh, my startup disk is almost full. Let's try emptying the trash. See if this will work. Empty trash. Haha. Okay. Sorry about that little interruption. I forget that I have to empty my trash every time I do this because it takes up a lot of space on my computer. There we go. Happy little sound of trash emptying. Anyway, it was a fantastic trip. I'll tell you more about it at the end so that if you don't want to listen to me talk about my trip, then you don't have to. So let's start with Below the Conch Shell. It's now July, so the June knit along has ended, and there were a lot of awesome entries. I'm outside in front of my apartment, as you can see, so I'm sorry for any street noise because the main road is kind of right over there. Let's go to the June FO or post. We had 17 posts, which was awesome. That's the most we've had, so thank you guys. Let's pull up random number generator. 17. 9! Alright, who is number 9? Let me see if you guys can. Yeah, you guys can totally see that. Number 9. Who is lucky number 9? I like the number 9. Scroll up. Come on, here we go. It is, gosh, I'm sorry, I never remember how to pronounce your, I think it's Imicole, and she knit a gorgeous pair of, she said, knit kitten poker socks knit of Lion brand sockies in the green apple colorway, so that's how she fit it in. Let's click on her. She is Linda from Pennsylvania, so get in contact with me via Ravelry PM with your address, and also, this has to tie into the July knit along, is to knit anything or to craft anything out of your favorite color. So Linda, I need to know what your favorite color is. Maybe your Rav name is LM, it's just a lowercase. I don't know. I'm sorry, please explain it to me. I always wonder where people come up with theirs. Mine, as you may have known from previous explanations, was a nickname my grandfather had for me, so that's where Pearl of the Pacific came from, if you were wondering. So yes, please tell me what your favorite color is, and I will do some stash diving, and hopefully I have something in your favorite color. If not, I'll find something somewhere. Anyway, so hello, I'm back. Sorry about that. My computer program decided to freeze. Anyway, what do I have going on here? Okay. Sorry, I was trying to sort out the buttons while I was restarting the program. So these are the buttons that I found. They're wooden. Oh, it actually did focus. So there they are. They're little wooden buttons. Oh, you did focus at one point. Maybe. Anyway, they're these simple, just wooden buttons. I've got a whole bunch of them in this bag. Unfortunately, the buttonholes on this sweater turned out really small. So unless I wanted like pea-size buttons, I'm gonna have to redo the buttonhole. So whatever, I have to rip out just the simple neckband and the button part of the band and knit them bigger. Not a problem. They turned out fine on my other sweater, so I don't know what's going on. But then the awesome thing was that after I mentioned to my grandmother that I had bought buttons for my sweater today, and I was showing her because she's a knitter too, she got really excited. She's like, oh my gosh, I have a whole ton of buttons. Why don't you just go through my buttons? So then my mother and I dumped out all of her buttons on their dining room table and went through them, and I brought home a ton of buttons, whole bag. So I tried to find sets of buttons. She gave me some thread so I could put them on here so they wouldn't just be loose in the bag. But they're really cool. So I got some of those. I got some red ones. Got these cool blue ones. Some other blue ones. There's some these are speckled on this side. Focus. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. So that's one thing. There's some that were already bunched up per grouping. So these are sets of buttons. And this is my second. Oh. I found a bunch of different kinds of black buttons. So I've got a whole bunch of. There's 3 different types, I think, on here. And then, let's see what else. Then I think I just threw a bunch in here. Oh, here's some cool green ones. They're dark green. I think these are going to go on my husband's next sweater because it's dark green. I got these big white ones. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but they're kind of cool. I don't know what they're made out of, but anyway, so I've got this whole bag of buttons now to add to my button collection. And my mom took the rest of the buttons for crafty projects and things, but so that's my little bag of goodies. And of course, after all the buttons, she was like, oh, I have some yarn. Would you like it? She didn't say it like that, because she said it in Czech. But she's getting older, and so she can't really knit as much anymore because she has a hard time seeing. So she was like, hey, why don't you just take all my yarn? So I went through and I grabbed some yarn. So I guess we're in from the mainland section. She also, the first day she was there, she always goes in the cupboard and gets stuff for us. This was a scarf that she gave me. And it looks, it's just a very simple, I think, just broken rib with some garter stitch on the end. It's very pretty. It feels like wool, but it's soft. I wore it against my neck some days, and then it actually matched my jacket, which is light blue. But it's got some pink and purple and light blue and gray, and it's very lovely. But she gave that, I guess, she didn't knit this, but relative of mine, I think it's a cousin of some sort. We visited a lot of family. I'm not always entirely sure how they're related to me, but they are, and we love them. But she passed away in this last year, or since I was last there, and so this was something that she knit. So that's nice. I also have a pair of socks that she knit. Another thing I got from my grandmother was this shawl. You'll notice it has a few holes in it, but I really liked the pattern. So I thought, hey, why don't I take this shawl? It's kind of scratchy too. It's just old and mothbally. But I said, why don't I take it and, figure out the pattern and knit it up in a different color. Or maybe the same color, but a different yarn, obviously. Because it's lace weight, something or other. But it's a very simple pattern with some leaves on the edge. So I'm going to work on figuring that out. and ta-da! I'm sure she knitted at some point, but it was in her drawer, and she's like, sure, go ahead and take it, because it's got all mothbally. I was like, hey, I'll repurpose that, and because I loved the pattern, so I'm gonna figure out how to do that. Maybe in the leftovers from this, because I had a ton of yarn left over. I thought about adding another couple repeats, and then I realized that was probably a bad idea because it was huge, but it didn't look huge because with lace it's all like scrunched up and then you block it and it's gigantic. So yeah, I can wear both my finished objects. So I just wore the, long story short, I wore my Ginny cardigan without the buttons, and I just wore it open. So I may not add buttons for a little while, mostly because it's really hot here. The fact that I'm able to wear it outside is kind of a miracle for today. It was really hot. But anyways, so those are the two knit items that I got, and then I got some yarn. Oops, sorry. I got this pink, and none of it's labeled, of course, so I have no idea what it is, but I got this pink, I think it's a cotton blend. That's what it feels like to me. But it's this light pink. I'm not really a pink person, but I liked the color, and I might make, my mom likes this color, although it looks better on me than it does on her, so I don't know what I'm going to make out of it. I have no idea how much I have. I'll have to measure it, but I got 2 balls of that. I think it's just 2 balls. Some of them, they may have come out of other projects, and so there's not a full cake, but those look pretty full cakes. I got, let me see. Okay, so this is the same yarn. So I got these 2 mini cakes, and this one big cake. I think this is also a cotton blend. It was kind of weird. She had these really funky yarns, and then she had these awesome yarns. So I don't know what this is made out of either, but it's not stretchy. Like, sorry, I'm trying to, like, there's no stretch to that at all. So that may be like a linen something? I don't know. If you have any ideas, let me know. But I've got the full cake and then 2 like half cakes here. I'm making a little stack here on my computer. And then I think this is similar. No, it's not similar. But it's this nice blue. Also, I think a cotton something blend. And then this blue is one of my favorites. Although one of them is becoming unraveled. Ta-da! This is much brighter than it's appearing on screen. It's a very royal blue. And it's kinky, so I'm assuming it came out of a project of some sort. Ah, you are the culprit of these stragglers. So these may have been something that she frogged at some point, but there we go. I've got a nice little array of yarn on my computer here. I'll have to take a picture. So those are the things that I got while I was there. I didn't actually buy any yarn. I was hoping to buy some like Czech yarn, but I couldn't, or even German yarn, European yarn, but I didn't find any. It was all pretty much commercially available here in the US, so I decided not to get any yarn except for the buttons. So I did get some buttons, and I think that's it for On the Horizon. Hello bug, hazards of being outside. I'll tell you a little bit about my trip, so if you want to hear about my trip, you can stay on. If not, have a great week, and I'll see you next time. So, adventures in Europe. So we got there Thursday night. We took a night flight. So we left really late. We got there at like 5 p.m. We had a layover in Frankfurt. And we went to my grandparents' house, of course, because most of the reason why we're there is to see them. Sorry, my hair is like all over the place today. And it's itching my nose. And we went to see them, and then we went out to dinner, and then went to sleep. And we stayed at the house of a friend who we've known for a long time. My dad's known his dad for ever. I think they met in the military, back when military used to be a mandatory thing. You had to go into the military for 2 years. And so we stayed at his house because his parents were out of town, so he was staying at their house, and which is right next door. Anyway, and it was lovely. It was great. And my parents stayed at an apartment across town at another friend. So we have a lot of friends, and they happened to not be there either, so it was great for us. And so, we did some grocery shopping. I'm a breakfast person. I need to have my breakfast or I get really cranky in the morning. So I was like, all right, well, I'm not having cereal and milk, because if you're trying to be gluten and dairy free in Europe, you're going to have a bad time. I ended up just eating gluten. I do have some lactose pills that I can take that help with dairy, so I didn't have horrible stomach cramps. But I mean, I just tried to avoid it whenever I had control. But when you go over to a family's house, it's like you can't really always control what they serve you. But it was delicious nonetheless. So I got this huge crate of eggs and sausage. I got some kielbasa, and I had that every morning for breakfast, and it was so good. Their sausage is amazing. Anyway, day 2, we went to a little town called Telch, and we just kind of visited the town square, and that's where Jeremy's family came up from Bratislava, which is where they live, and we got to meet or see them. I'd met them before, but my parents hadn't, so that was fun. We just kind of explored the town square. It was fun. That's where I saw the yarn shop that was closed. And day 2, we went to see some family and some delicious food. She's my dad's first cousin, and she is one of the best cooks that I know. And I ate so much food. And then we went to the botanic gardens near their house, which was fun. And then the next day we slept a lot because we were so exhausted from the last 2 days. And I forget, everything kind of blends in. But we did go see a lot of family, a lot of cousins, a lot of aunts and uncles, a lot of... my uncle came up from Munich, so that was really fun to see him. He's really fun to hang out with. He speaks like 5 different languages, and none of them are English. He knows a few words in English, but we find a way of communicating that actually works out quite well. He's really funny, so I enjoyed that. That was the day Jeremy and I went into Prague by ourselves. My dad dropped us off, and we went to see this beautiful monastery that's near my grandparents' house. And they have a beautiful library there, a couple of libraries actually in there, with gorgeous painted ceilings. You probably saw, if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen pictures of all this. Anyway, so we went to go see that, and that was beautiful. And then my dad was like, go see the Prague Castle. It's like right next door. Now, the Prague Castle is not really a castle. It's kind of a palace where the president lives, and there is a very large cathedral in the middle of all of it. So we walked down the hill because we're like, we can see it. It's like right over there. So we walked down the hill. But we didn't really know where we were going, and so we passed it, and then we got to the bottom of the hill, and then we were really confused because we're like, where is this darn thing? But of course you're in downtown Prague, and you're trying to find something that you don't know where it is, and you can't read any of the signs, so that was interesting. We did a lot of walking. We finally made it to the Charles Bridge, and I was like, yay, I know where I am now. And then we called my dad. We're like, okay, how do we get home? That doesn't involve us walking all the way back up that hill. He's like, just, catch the tram and then catch the bus. And I'm like, okay, that sounds easy. Of course, then we couldn't find the tram, and then we couldn't find the bus, or the tickets to buy, like, we couldn't buy the tickets to get on the bus. Anyway, we walked all the way home. We mapped it out. It was like 10 miles uphill, like this steep uphill. Not joking. It was a long day. Like, we're never doing that again. Of course, then we went back into downtown Prague a couple days later with my parents, and I was like, oh, we were here. It was very logical where we were very close to the Prague castle the entire time. We just didn't know it, because I hadn't been there in 4 years. So the second time we were downtown, I was like, oh yeah, I totally know where I am now. I mean, I've been there how many times? You'd think I'd know where I am. Anyway, so that was an adventure. Let's see what other fun things. Oh, we did go see a castle, a real castle. It's in Karlstein. I don't exactly know where it is in relative to Prague. Prague is kind of big. There's different sections of Prague. There's like Prague 1, which is downtown, and then there's like Prague, I think it goes up to 10. So we stayed in like Prague 4, and my parents stayed in Prague 6, and my grandparents live in Prague 5. So they're all kind of right next to each other, and they're just right north of downtown. So it was pretty close by. Oh, the castle. That's what I tend to interrupt myself a lot, I've noticed. Anyway, we did go see Karlstein, which is a beautiful castle, up a large hill, of course. So we decided to wait a few days before going to see the castle, because Jeremy and I were like, we're not walking up that hill again. So that was really fun. We took a tour, and our tour guide was hilarious. I wanted to take him home because it was so funny. I mean, trying to give a tour in not your native language and still cracking jokes, that's talented. It was awesome. Anyway, we weren't allowed to take pictures inside, so I didn't take any pictures out inside, but I think I posted some from outside. I don't know if I took any. It kind of seemed silly for us all to take pictures, so we kind of all took turns taking pictures, and then at the end of the day, we'd find some Wi-Fi and share them. A lot of restaurants tended to have some Wi-Fi, so that's what we ended up doing. Let's see, what else did we do? There was a lot of family, which was good. I love my family over there. We did watch some World Cup, which was fun. I realized at the end of the trip that I had watched the World Cup in 4 different languages, least of all which has been English, oddly enough. I think I've watched 1 game in English, maybe 1.5. The rest has been either Czech or Spanish or German. So that was kind of fun. We did get some Wimbledon. My family is big into tennis, and that's the big tennis tournament that takes place in England this time of year. So that was really fun to finally see some tennis, because we don't get the channel that has tennis. We just get whatever comes with our cable, which is why we've been watching the World Cup in Spanish. Hey, at least Univision is showing it. I'm happy. I get to watch soccer. Actually, the Spanish commentators get way more excited than the American commentators. It's awesome. I keep running out to the living room going, did something happen? Did something happen? Jeremy's like, no, he was just really close. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was fun. And I think that's it, except for our minor adventure in Switzerland. So at the end of the trip, we're supposed to fly from Prague to Zurich and have like a 4-hour layover and then fly home. Well, somewhere on the flight from Prague to Zurich, Jeremy's passport went missing. We think what happened is he left it on the seat and then someone stole it, or the cleaning crew is just silly and doesn't know how to look through the seat and find a stolen or a missing passport. So anyway, we were stuck in Switzerland. We're like, all right, well, what are we going to do? Well, you have to go to the embassy. So, backtracking to downtown Prague. This is relevant, I swear. We're getting long here. I'm looking over my piles of yarn. Anyway, we're in downtown Prague at the Prague Castle because we finally made it with my parents. Because my dad's like, oh yeah, it's like right up the hill. And we're like, well, yeah, we saw it on our way back up the hill, but we weren't about to go in there because we just wanted to get home at that point. But we're walking around the cathedral, which I've never actually been in. It always seems to be closed for some reason or another, randomly. And I see this guy who looks oddly familiar. I'm like, Mom, is that your cousin from California? Why, yes, it is. My mom's cousin from LA happened to be visiting Prague at the same time we were. Neither of us knew we were going to be there. And we happened to run into him in all of Prague. Hilarious side note is that he actually had one of his people, because he has people, do the calculations. It's like a 1 in 14 billion chance that we would run into each other in Prague. So funny. Anyway, so we had a nice little chat. We saw some things that were nearby. There's like a little street called the Golden Lane, where there's just a bunch of little shops, and they're little houses built for little people, because people were short that lived there. I don't really know the entire story behind it. I did at one point. Anyway, they're like my size. It's great. Anyway, so we went there. But it was so funny to run into him. Anyway, so as we're in Zurich now, trying to figure out what to do, my parents have to catch their flight, so I make them leave. Mom's like, no, I'll stay. I was like, no, go home. I need someone in the U.S. to help us out. So anyway, okay, I'm getting warm here. Take this off. So she's like, try calling my cousin. He might be able to help, oddly. I was like, okay. He happens to know a lot of important people. So I called him, and I was like, okay, so we're stuck in Switzerland. What do we do? And we knew that we had to go to the embassy and get a new passport, basically. So we knew that had to happen. It wasn't really an issue. But we're like, do you know anybody who might be able to help us? So weirdly enough, he happens to know some very important people, and which helped us a lot and got us through to the embassy very quickly. So we took a train ride through the beautiful Swiss countryside. We were like, hey, you know what? We're stuck here in Switzerland for at least another 24 hours. Why don't we enjoy ourselves? So we had to take a train down to the capital and to visit the embassy, and we had our friend back home find us an adorable little hotel to stay in. And Zurich is beautiful, by the way. If you have a chance to go to Zurich, it's beautiful. There's lots of pretty buildings. We didn't get to spend a whole lot of time there, but it looked pretty. Anyway, so we took a little train down. Jeremy went to the embassy the next morning. That's when I got a lot of knitting done on this. I was like knitting like crazy, because you aren't allowed to take any of your stuff to the embassy, so I sat at the train station with all of our stuff while he went to the embassy. And then he came back just in time to take the train to catch our now changed flight to a day and a half later. But everything just worked out perfectly. So, because we had called a lot of our family friends, were like, please say prayers that things work out, because we don't want to be stuck in Switzerland forever. So things just worked out. We were able to get a flight. They didn't charge us a ton of money to switch our flight, which was good. And then the flight happened to be delayed by just like a half an hour, which was perfect, because if it had been on time, I don't think we would have made it. So that was really, really lucky. Security was a breeze, check-in was a breeze, and everything just kind of worked out. We got seats together, which was really odd. It was a pretty full flight. Party music! Anyway, so we finally made it home a day later. We got home, and I pretty much took a shower and went to bed at like 7 p.m. Slept for like 9.5 hours. I'm finally back on U.S. time, so that's nice. It was weird for a little while to hear people speaking English all over the place, because we just got used to people speaking German or Czech or French or whatever. But it's been good. Apparently my voice held out this entire time, which was good news. Anyway, my computer is about to die because I'm outside and I don't have my charger, obviously, because I'm outside. So I'm going to say Auf Wiedersehen, or Ahoy, as we say in Czech, or Ciao. They like to say that too. It's kind of funny. So I hope you all enjoyed my little adventuring stories and my pictures, and hopefully I'll be posting some more pictures soon. Maybe I can figure out how to put some pictures at the end of this, although I have to get them from my phone to my computer. I think I have most of them at this point. We did some pretty good picture sharing near the end of the trip, so hope you all enjoy, and knit things in your favorite color and post them in the thread. All right, bye.